You may have heard that it's a big party with adults drinking alcohol and walking around naked.
Then dirty hippies out in the desert.
But really, it's a lot more than that. That's just a little bit of it.
Says, hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side.
The
Said, hey, honey,
proto-apocalyptic,
take a walk on
hippie,
the wild
neo-pagan
side.
freak fest.
This is Larry Harvey, the man largely credited as the founder of Burning Man Festival, now an international presence organizing in hundreds of countries. A spontaneous act with friends has ballooned into a spectacular global phenomenon, centered around a huge annual party in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. Larry and his friends were part of a world of artists, writers and performers who had congregated in San Francisco, which by the 1980s had become home to a vibrant counterculture inspired by the Situationists and radical politics and art. There were active experimental collectives like the Suicide Club, and one group in particular, the Cacophony Society, would bring together like-minded characters, establishing the blueprint for what was to come. The 12-foot effigy of a man became a symbol of the forces of participation and a utopian social dream which looked away from the superficiality of the everyday experience of consumer capitalism. Each year, the event would grow, and with it, so would the original family of artists and creatives, to encompass more ideas and more creative energy. In the early 1990s, the event was moved to a site 100 miles north of Reno, Nevada, situating it in the abundant expanse of the playa and away from the authorities and regulation.
It's the largest expanse of nothingness in the Northern Hemisphere. It's 400 square miles of flat earth.
It's a really shitty place to be.
One of the few environments on the planet that is actively trying to kill you.
I was sitting in my room when my mom and my dad came in. They pulled up a chair and they sat down.
At the time, there was wide open spaces. You could shoot guns freely, drive-by shooting range where you could ride a bicycle and shoot at Barney the puppet on your bicycle. An alien, you know?
As it grew, it would become less familiar, and instead, more chaotic and unpredictable. And this would lead to tragedies that would rock the organization to its core. In 1996, a small group had camped on the playa, away from the noise of the main camp. One night, in the dark, they were hit by a speeding car and seriously injured as they lay in their tents. The driver had been under the influence, and the organizers were threatened with jail. But rather than end the party, state law enforcement and other governmental bodies became increasingly involved. And by the year 2000, a rigid structure had been devised and repeated to the plans drawn by urban designer and architect Rod Garrett. The spectacle had become too chaotic to allow the sense of pure unbridled expression it had initially sought out, and the regulation and order of society outside of its municipal zone had necessarily manifested within the trash fence. In short, it had become a city. Airplanes, dogs, sanitation, emergency services all fell under the administrative structures that would be established to cope with the growth of its popularity. In 2006, there was even an introduction of a voting system and a one-off census, casting a hopeful or fearful vote for the project's future. Unsurprisingly, the results said hopeful. And then, something happened. The new regulations that had allowed the event to continue had also created discontent amongst some of its participants. And this would lead to the unleashing of forces that the event could no longer control. At 2:58 a.m., on Tuesday, August the 28th in 2006, a vigilante and burner of the old school called Paul Addis ignited the effigy of the man, ahead of the schedule. Some would see it as an expression of one of the festival's core principles of radical self-expression, but Harvey and the organizers would disagree. Addis was arrested for arson and sentenced up to 4 years in a Nevada state prison, whilst the community quickly rebuilt the man to be burned on the Saturday as planned. At its current scale, it takes the entire year to build and remove the temporary city of 70,000, despite only officially being open to the public for 1 week over the Labor Day weekend. It has spawned an expansive international network of organizations based directly or on derivations of its 10 principles. Though these are integral to the Burning Man culture, such a critical mass has inevitably resulted in different values and practices in its midst. Turnkey and plug-and-play camps where dollars change hands for convenience have commodified the uncommodifiable, and animosity grows between burners over authenticity and integrity. Despite this, the principles of radical inclusion still welcome those who burn for a plethora of motivations to continue to contribute to its diversity. Beyond the vacuum of the festival, a vast 3,800-acre property has been purchased by the organization, not far from Black Rock. The money for Fly Ranch has been privately donated to the organization by nameless benefactors wishing to create an extension of the city, a base camp for the community to settle, live, and practice their 10 principles with permanence, and perhaps to experience the reality of a continuously evolving protopia. Resonating with its touchstone value, immediacy, it will be a platform from which a new society will proliferate and prosper, potentially accessible to anyone, and promoting positive spiritual change in the world.
Oh,